The air in here, it feels heavy tonight. And I don't think it's just the humidity rolling off the lake.
Oh, yeah.
It's the weight, the sheer tonnage of the ghost we're about to summon. You can almost smell it, can't you?
You keep talking about the smell in the notes. I'm sitting here with the fresh 2026 pressing of Acapulco Gold.
Right.
Which, by the way, smells pristine, like factory shrink wrap and warm vinyl.
Sure.
And I've got a stack of fanzines that smell like a damp basement in Cheektowaga. But I get the sense you're referring to something else, something specific to the geography.
I am. I'm not talking about dust or cardboard. I'm talking about a sensory imprint that doesn't wash out.
Okay.
It's stale beer. And not the good stuff.
Yeah.
The cheap stuff.
Right.
It's the specific acrid bite of Craven A cigarette smoke. That Canadian tobacco. It clings to denim like a curse. It's the smell of blood sugar and sweat. We aren't just talking about music tonight, kid.
Sure.
We're talking about the Niagara frontier. We're talking about a time when noise wasn't a digital file you streamed from the cloud.
Yeah.
It was physical. It took up space. It left bruises.
I'm ready for the bruising. I've gone through the contagion of sound study. I've mapped out the Mafia Punk hegemony charts.
You've done your homework.
And I've got the flyers spread out here on the desk. But I want to start with that term, Mafia Punk.
Yeah.
It's the first thing that just jumps out from the whole Virus X dossier. It's aggressive.
Just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
It does, because usually when we analyze subcultures, mafia implies organized crime.
Sure.
It implies protection rackets, The Godfather, silence, omerta. But looking at the social dynamics of Buffalo and Niagara Falls in the 1980s, this seems like a misnomer, or maybe an ironic appropriation.
You have to understand the distinction. You have to look at the landscape.
Okay.
Niagara Falls, Buffalo, 1983. The steel industry is collapsing.
Right.
The economic glory days are in the rearview mirror, and they are fading fast. This wasn't a place for hopeful startups or, tech bros. It was a place for survival. Mafia Punk wasn't about being a gangster in a pinstripe suit shaking down shopkeepers.
Okay, so not literal.
No. It was about the structure of the family.
The source text describes it as fierce familial loyalty to the underground. So we're talking about a closed-circuit economy. A tribe.
Exactly. It was a complete rejection of Joe Average values.
Right.
You had the working class trying to maintain the American way amidst all the rust, the 9-to-5, the white picket fence that was peeling.
Yeah.
And then you had this family of outcasts. If you were in the circle, you were blood. If you weren't, well, you were just part of the fucked up world order they were screaming against.
So it's tribalism.
It's tribalism born of necessity. When the city turns its back on you, you build your own city.
That aligns with the us against the world mentality you see in other Rust Belt punk scenes, but it seems like Virus X actually codified it.
Oh, they did?
They weren't just a band. They were the heads of the family.
And tonight, we're going to the center of that family's compound. Or maybe their war room.
Then let's start at ground zero. The venue that keeps coming up in every single oral history and interview I've read, the Continental.
The Continental. Buffalo, New York. Calling it a venue feels way too polite. It was an ecosystem.
The sources paint a picture of a place that wouldn't pass a single modern health and safety inspection.
Not a chance.
There's a detail here that I honestly thought was hyperbole until I cross-referenced it. Chicken wire.
The chicken wire, yeah. You see that in movies like The Blues Brothers and you think it's a slapstick joke.
Right, a visual gag.
At the Continental, in the early days, that wire was the only thing standing between the band and the emergency room.
So the audience participation was aggressive.
It was ballistics. You have to remember, we weren't drinking out of flimsy plastic sippy cups like you get at festivals today.
Wow.
We were drinking hard Canadian glasses. Heavy glass bottles of Brador or Molson. Thick glass.
Oh, wow.
When the energy spiked, or, the mood turned dark, those bottles became projectiles.
That completely changes the dynamic of a performance.
Yeah.
The band isn't just playing to the crowd. They're surviving the crowd.
That's it.
They're essentially animals in a cage.
And we were the zoo. But the thing that haunts me, the detail that really sticks when I close my eyes, is the face on the wall.
The Henry Hudson Keystone.
You saw it?
I saw the photo in the archive. It's this giant stone carving of the explorer, Henry Hudson, mounted right there in the club.
Just staring blankly. It was a relic from some old demolished building, and they repurposed it to watch over the chaos.
Wow.
That stone face saw the angel dust days. It saw punks, skateboarders, and gooders tearing each other apart. It was the only silent thing in the room.
You mentioned blood sugar earlier as a smell. I assume that was a metaphor for something, but the notes link it to a specific chemical combination in that room.
It's the result of zero ventilation and too much vice. Rick Miami, the guitarist, the voice, the heart of Virus X, he talks about it explicitly.
What did he say?
He said you'd go home after a show in 1985, and the next day you'd sweat out this sickly sweet metallic mixture.
Oh.
Cheap Canadian tobacco that Gravenet and Du Maurier again spilled alcohol and adrenaline. It soaked into your pores.
So you couldn't just wash it off?
You couldn't wash it off. You had to wait for it to leave your system. You couldn't go to work the next day without smelling like a crime scene.
The transcript from the Power Chord Hour interview explicitly describes the shows from 83 to 89 as violent and aggressive. But was it malicious? Or was it, like, cathartic?
It was a release valve.
Yeah.
For sure. But people got hurt. There's a specific incident Rick mentions involving an Italian disco bar.
Which, again, feels like a bizarre venue for a punk band. Why were they even there?
That's the Mafia Punk hustle. They didn't care about genre boundaries. They needed a stage. They took the booking.
So they just showed up.
They start playing their primitive compositions, and the disco crowd just doesn't know what to make of it.
I can imagine.
But a buddy of theirs, he's just called Buddy in the records, which, protects the guilty, I suppose.
Right.
He gets into it. Things escalate. And he takes a shot.
A punch.
A jack bar.
A tire iron. Inside a disco.
Right to the head. Rick says the guy still sports a scar on his forehead from it.
Oh my God.
And here's the key insight into the band's psychology. They kept playing.
They didn't stop.
The feedback loop of violence and music didn't stop for blood. If the amp was still on, the show was still on.
It seems like the architecture of the venues dictated the social behavior. There's a mention of club accent and a cattle herd dance floor.
Club accent. Imagine Saturday Night Fever if it was directed by David Lynch on a shoestring budget.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
The floor was circular and it rotated. Or maybe we were just too intoxicated and it felt like it rotated.
Right.
You start walking on the edge, talking to someone, and the momentum of the crowd would just sweep you up.
Yeah.
Being part of the herd, skateboarders, dark wave goths, and Virus X in the middle conducting the noise.
It sounds completely unregulated. No safety rails, no security guards with earpieces whispering into their collars.
Unregulated is the perfect word. There were no smartphones to catch you if you fell, no digital evidence, just the night.
Yeah.
And to survive that night, you needed a vehicle. You couldn't just call a car service.
This brings us to the logistics of the scene. In the Mafia Punk hegemony paper, Table 2 covers network interactions, and there's one node that connects almost everyone, Rick Miami's Camaro.
The Bitchin Camaro.
Yeah, it's the one.
The Chariot. That Camaro wasn't just a car. It was a vessel. It was the Mayflower for the misfits.
It functioned as a shuttle service for the entire underground. Rick Miami wasn't just a guitarist, he was a chaperone.
Chaperone makes him sound like a school teacher on a field trip. He's a ferryman for the underworld.
Okay.
You have to picture this. It's the mid-'80s. Buffalo is a major stop for touring bands because of its location between New York and Toronto, but it's gritty.
Yeah.
It's easy to get lost or into trouble. These rock stars arrive, and they need to get around. Who drives them?
Rick Miami in his Camaro.
Rick Miami in his Camaro.
The passenger manifest is just staggering. Wendy O. Williams, Dave Vanian from The Damned.
Icon.
These are icons of shock rock and goth. But the story that really deconstructs the rock star myth involves Johnny Thunders?
The New York Dolls.
Yeah.
The Heartbreakers, a legend, and let's be honest, a legend with a heavy reputation for narcotics, a guy who lived hard.
Right. So the story goes, it's 1986. Rick picks him up from a hotel. They're driving down Niagara Falls Boulevard. And I imagine Rick is expecting some kind of diva behavior or a meltdown. He's bracing for chaos.
He has to be. Instead, he gets an Animal House moment.
Yeah.
Smoke is pouring out the windows, and probably not just tobacco.
Yeah, okay.
Thunders turns to Rick and asks, effectively, can I buy some pot from you?
He's asking a local kid for a connection. The irony.
And Rick is just stunned. He's thinking,
Yeah.
You're Johnny Thunders. You probably have stuff I'd never even heard of.
Right.
But Rick just says, here, take it. He gives him the stash. He doesn't charge him.
And what I find so profound is Rick's reflection on that moment years later. He describes Thunders as polite and genuine.
Yeah.
It just cuts against the grain of the tragic junkie narrative we always hear.
That's the Mafia Punk ethos again.
Yeah.
It cuts through the bull. In the passenger seat of that Camaro, Thunders wasn't a god on a pedestal.
Yeah.
He was just a guy who needed a smoke. And Rick was the guy who could provide it. That created a bond stronger than any record contract. It was hospitality.
It situates Virus X in proximity to greatness, even if they remained underground. Speaking of proximity, the sources highlight their connection to other Buffalo giants, specifically the Goo Goo Dolls.
Or, as we knew them back then, the sex maggots.
A branding change was probably wise before they wrote Iris.
Definitely. But before they were writing ballads for Nicolas Cage movies, the Goo Goo Dolls were getting beaten up in dive bars right alongside Virus X.
Real.
Rick remembers them taking a beating early on. Their early records were solid, gritty punk. They breathed the same stale air.
It's fascinating to see the divergent paths. 10,000 Maniacs was there too, right?
10,000 Maniacs were the alternative artsy crowd. They were the ones you'd see at the gallery openings.
A different vibe.
A different vibe, but back then, the scene was small enough that they shared the same stages. Virus X was the chaos.
Let's pivot to the mechanics of the band itself. I'm fascinated by the guerrilla marketing section of our notes.
Oh, yes.
Today, you post on Instagram, you boost the post for $50, you target a demographic, and you're done. But the night auditor method, that is pure industrial espionage.
You kids and your algorithms, you don't know the hustle, you don't know the risk.
So walk me through it.
Okay, so here's how it worked. You need flyers, thousands of them. Kinko's costs money you need for beer and strings.
Right.
But one of the band members, or a close associate, works the night shift at the Hilton Hotel.
Rick mentioned working as a bellhop in one interview.
Ideally, you want the night auditor role, the guy with the keys. But bellhop works if the auditor is asleep. It's 2 a.m. The hotel is dead. Rick and the boys sneak into the business center or the back office, and they commandeer the photocopier.
They're just stealing ink and paper on a massive scale.
They're liberating corporate resources for the arts. They'd run hundreds, maybe thousands of flyers. Virus X at the Continental. Virus X at the Wagon Wheel.
And no one noticed?
Because the machines didn't have sophisticated digital counters back then, nobody knew. It was the perfect crime.
But the distribution method is even more impressive. The sources refer to a specific adhesive wallpaper stuff.
They didn't use Scotch tape.
Whoa.
They didn't use staples.
Why not?
Rain washes tape away.
Yeah.
Wind rips staples out. They bought industrial-grade wallpaper paste, the blue sludge in the bucket.
Oh, wow.
They would dip these stolen flyers into buckets of this slime and just slap them onto telephone poles, brick walls, bridge abutments.
Rick claims in the interview that those flyers wouldn't come down for 10 or 15 years.
He's not lying. That paste calcified. It turned into cement. You'd drive down Main Street a decade later, and you'd see a fossilized flyer for a show that happened in 1985.
It became part of the city's architecture.
It's urban archaeology.
There's another detail in those flyers that just highlights the technological gap. The contact info.
Oh, Sam. Poor Sam.
Rick's dad.
No cell phones. No email. No website. If you wanted to book Virus X or find out when they went on stage, you called the number on the flyer.
Which was?
Which was the landline at Rick's parents' house.
No way. So Rick's dad is fielding calls from punks at 2 in the morning.
Imagine it. It's 1:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. The phone rings in the hallway. Sam picks up, probably in his anthrobe. Hello?
Yeah.
And on the other end is some spiked hair kid screaming over feedback. Is the show still on? Where's the gig?
And what did he do?
And Sam, bless his heart, he handled it. Yeah, Rick's not here, but I think they're playing the Cavern tonight.
That is the ultimate definition of a family business.
Yeah.
The parents are drafted into the road crew whether they like it or not.
That's Mafia Punk. The family is involved. There is no separation between the band and the home.
Let's talk about the noise they were making. The sources describe the sound as primitive compositions with a strange sense of humor.
It was raw. They had Jared Sin on the guitar. The axe, his style was this distorted, mangled blues.
Okay.
He wasn't trying to shred like Van Halen. He was trying to hurt the speakers.
I get that.
And then smash thrash on drums, who was pulling from a Black Sabbath doom influence. So it was heavy, slow, and then suddenly fast.
I'm looking at the track list. Heat, Nancy, Purple Bedroom. But there's an anthem.
Niagara Falls.
And they spell it out in the chorus.
Niagara. And to scream, it wasn't a tourism jingle. It was a declaration of territory. This is our dump, and we love it.
And then there's the garbage tax dance.
The pinnacle of choreography.
I have the transcript here where Rick gives the instructions. It's surprisingly specific. Put your garbage in the tote.
Yeah.
Turn around and smoke some dope.
Simple, elegant, effective.
But it's also social commentary, isn't it? It's about municipal waste management policies in Niagara Falls.
It's about being high and annoyed that you have to take out the trash kid. Don't overthink it. That's the humor.
Right.
They were writing songs about the daily frustrations of living in a dying city. The garbage tax was a real thing people complained about.
So they just weaponized it.
Virus X just made it danceable. They turned civic annoyance into a mosh pit.
That blend of humor and grit seems to be their signature, but it wasn't all funny.
No.
There's a darker undercurrent here, especially when we get into Section 4. Politics, police, and the system. This is where the story takes a turn that, frankly, feels like fiction.
If you wrote this in a screenplay, the studio would reject it. They'd say it's too on the nose. It's unbelievable.
You're talking about the City Hall connection.
These guys were punks. They hated the system. They fought the system.
Yeah.
And then they became the system.
Jerry Genova, the guitarist,
Became the president of the city council in Niagara Falls.
and Rick Miami was involved in the tourism board.
It's the ultimate subversion. They didn't burn City Hall down. They walked in the front door, put on ties, and started running the meetings.
That's incredible.
But Rick insists they brought the punk mentality with them.
How does punk mentality translate to municipal governance?
They cut through the red tape. They had zero patience for bureaucracy. They brought back the Hard Rock Cafe concert series.
Okay, so they use their power for music.
They used their position to promote music. But imagine being a stiff bureaucrat, and the city council president is a guy who plays in a band called Virus X and sings about smoking dope.
It creates a fascinating tension. On one hand, they are civic leaders. On the other, Rick admits in the interview to being arrested twice.
I forgot so easily, he says. Being arrested was just a Tuesday for them back then. It wasn't a career ender. It was part of the resume.
And there's that song, Law Enforcement.
The defiance. Rick tells the story of lighting up a bowl right in front of a cop car on Niagara Falls Boulevard.
He was taunting them.
Just to see what would happen. Look cool, he says. It's that teenage invincibility. I'm going to smoke this right here and you can't touch me.
Of course, sometimes they could touch you.
Oh, yeah.
But juxtaposed with that bravado, the garbage tax humor, the City Hall success, you have the lyrics to Zip Tied. This is the source material that gave me chills. It felt different.
Yeah. We need to lower the lights for this one. This isn't the funny part of the story.
The lyrics are repetitive, almost like a chant. 1969, they never found your body.
Threw you into the lower river. They left you behind.
It's a stark contrast to the rest of their catalog. This isn't funny. This is about disappearance.
Niagara Falls is a beautiful place, but the river, the lower river below the falls, it keeps secrets.
Oh, so.
It swallows people. The current is violent. Zip-tied feels like a confession, or maybe an accusation against the city itself.
1975, I last saw you alive. You stepped into the set of room and they left you behind. It suggests a history of violence in the region that goes beyond mosh pit bruises. It hints at the actual mob presence, or just the darkness of a border town.
It grounds the band in the reality of their environment. It wasn't all parties and Camaros. People went missing.
So it's real.
When Virus X sings, "They never found your body," they aren't telling a ghost story. They're reporting the news. They're acknowledging the ghosts that share the stage with them.
That duality is what makes them so compelling to me. They encompass the whole experience of living there, the absurdity of the taxes and the horror of the river.
And the miracle is that they survived it. They survived the 80s. They survived the hiatuses.
Which brings us to the resurgence. Because they aren't just a memory, they are active.
They disappeared for a while. Life happens. Rick became a teacher. He needed to get tenure.
The punk rocker worried about tenure. I love that.
You gotta eat, kid.
Yeah.
But they never broke up. Rick is adamant, we can't break up.
Why not?
You can't divorce your brothers, a blood pact.
So 2014, they start making noise again. But 2019 seems to be the pivot point, the vapor store era.
Sounds like The Proof is in the Pussy and Paul's Niagara Falls. Classic Virus X. Subtlety is not their strong suit.
They pick up right where they left off.
They do.
And now, looking at the recent history, 2024 to 2026, they are remarkably prolific. 1983 Volume 2, the final vinyl, released in 2024.
That was a cool project. One side was archival recordings from 1985, old, scratchy, raw.
Right.
The other side was brand new tracks recorded in 2023, past and present pressed onto one slab of wax.
So you can hear the evolution.
We can hear the evolution, and you can hear what stayed exactly the same.
And the artifact I'm holding right now,
Huh.
Acapulco Gold, released 2026. The cover art is vivid.
What do you see?
Skulls, marijuana leaves, a Blee Stratocaster, bright, almost neon colors, Uniray Records.
It screams, we are still here and we are still high. It's a statement of vitality.
They're playing festivals, too. I see flyers here for Dreadfest 2025 and Kenny Jam 2025.
Yeah?
They're sharing bills with metal bands like Stormed Within and Bonded by Darkness.
Rick said it best. You can't wash a microphone.
That quote. Tell me that story, because it feels like the philosophical anchor of the whole band.
It sums up the difference between a pro and a punk. Rick had a microphone that smelled terrible.
From the shows.
Years of spit, sweat, beer, smoke. It was encrusted with the DNA of the Buffalo underground. So being a clean-cut guy at heart, he takes it home and washes it in the sink with soap and water.
Oh, no. You can't wash electronics.
You ruined it. Destroy the mic.
Yeah.
But the metaphor stands.
Yeah.
You can't wash the grime off this band. You can't sanitize the history. It's baked in. And you try to clean it up, you break it. You have to accept the dirt.
There's one final ghost story connection we need to touch on. The green Jellö connection.
Bill Manspeaker. Another Niagara legend. Green Jellö, due to the trademark lawsuit, went on to be huge.
Right, MTV, the Three Little Pigs video.
But before that, they were just local idiots like everyone else.
And the story involves a Kiss concert.
A Kiss concert at the Memorial Auditorium. The odd. The holy grail of rock venues in Buffalo. Bill Manspeaker manages to sneak a green Jellö record into the show. And he rolls it onto the stage.
Like a bowling ball.
Like a grenade. And Paul Stanley, the Star Child himself, stops the show. He picks up this record.
What did he do?
He looks at it, probably confused by the crude artwork, and flips it back into the crowd like a frisbee.
Wow.
But for a split second, Kiss held a piece of the Niagara underground in their hands.
It's a collision of worlds. Stadium rock versus gutter punk.
And that's what Virus X represents. They were the gutter, looking up at the stars, smoking a joint, and laughing.
Yeah.
They knew they weren't Kiss, and they didn't want to be.
Rick has a philosophy about the difference between then and now. In the Source interview, he contrasts the 80s with the 2020s. He calls it unity through variety.
The 80s were competitive. Showbiz cockiness, he calls it. Everyone wanted the deals. Rat race.
Right.
Bands would talk trash behind each other's backs because they were fighting for the same scrap of attention. But now, 2026, there are no labels. Not really. No A&R guys in suits coming to Buffalo to discover the next big thing.
So the pressure is off.
Exactly. Now, if you're playing because you have to.
Rick says no labels, no A&R pressure, direct distribution.
It's pure.
It's pure. It's the most punk rock they've ever been. They don't answer to anyone but themselves and the ghost of Henry Hudson on the wall.
And they've documented it all. Zip-tied, the Virus X story, the DVD released in 2025.
If you want to see the footage, the grainy VHS tapes of the Continental, the hair, the violence, it's all there. It documents the contagion of sound.
You know, sitting here with all this, the flyers, the records, the stories, I feel like I missed out. I missed the smell. I missed the danger.
You can't recreate the danger, kid. You can't manufacture the feeling of standing behind chicken wire wondering if a bottle's going to hit you.
Yeah.
Those days are gone, and maybe that's a good thing, but the noise is still here.
It is. I'm going to put Acapulco Gold on the turntable as soon as we're done.
Do it. Crank it up. Let the neighbors complain. Tell them it's the garbage tax.
I will. Before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one image. It's the one that sticks with me.
The Camaro.
The Camaro, 1986. Niagara Falls Boulevard. The streetlights are flickering because the grid is failing.
Huh?
The factories are rusting in the distance. And there's Rick Miami, one hand on the wheel of that Bitchin Camaro, the other hand holding a joint.
Wow.
And in the passenger seat is Johnny Thunders, nodding off, clutching a bag of buffalo wheat.
Two worlds colliding in a Chevy.
They're driving fast. Way too fast, as the song goes. They're heading toward the falls or maybe just toward the next gig. It doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is they're moving. They're alive. And they're loud.
And they never found the body.
Don't let them find yours.